the comic covers as standalone episodes, and so we aim to please. So this is the first one of those, and I'm excited. So this is all for those of you who are either caught up on the comic and want to hear our thoughts on it, or you just want to hear our thoughts on it and you're not caught up. This first episode is our under the comic covers menage a trois. After this, Grace is going to pick which one of us she wants to continue on with.
Man, this is like death match. Oh, sudden death.
Dun, dun, dun. No.
I'm suddenly imagining you and I standing on pillars, Jason, with those big like American Gladiator Q-tips, fighting for Gracie Lou's attention
with chained up zombies all around the edges.
Yeah, the governor would approve.
I feel like I have such power. Okay.
You do. So, first of all, what did you guys think of this issue? Issue 118.
I thought it was great. The masses might not agree with me, but I really liked it. This was my favorite so far out of the All Out War arc.
You know what? I liked it. On first read, I kind of read through it quickly, and I liked it, but I didn't. I'll talk about this more in my top 3, but I didn't love the narration part that Ezekiel narrated.
Really?
I'll tell you why later. But
okay.
On second read, I liked it more, and I felt the emotion of it more. So overall, I think it was just as good as the last few issues. So I liked it.
Personally, I loved it. I thought it was really not only one of my favorite issues of the All Out War arc, but quite possibly one of my favorite issues that we've seen in a long time. So I was pretty excited about this one. So why don't we go ahead and kick into the top 3, since I think we both have both. It's a menage a trois. Since we all have things that we want to talk about with it, let's kick in. Cool. Jason, why don't you kick it off, since you are the guest today.
Okay. The guest of honor. Let's see. You know what? I'll just go ahead and start with that narration scene. So first of all, I'm talking about when Ezekiel starts talking about, what happened next after the last issue.
Yeah.
And I was a little confused at first because we have a panel with Michonne talking to Carl about what happened. And then the next page has a dialogue box and it's Ezekiel talking. And I didn't
know who that is.
Know who was talking, and we're seeing Rick, and Ezekiel, at least from what I gathered, was not there during the events that we're seeing. So I was like, what is going on here? Then finally a couple pages later, we get to the stuff that did happen to Ezekiel. And I thought that was more powerful and good, except I also had this feeling like, you know what? It feels like somebody's telling me about something that happened, even though I can see the panels, versus actually seeing it happen. And so for me, it felt less immediate. And I felt like I wasn't there witnessing it. I was just hearing about it. So I didn't like that part. But I did like the sequence of events. I liked seeing Rick and his crew just kind of methodically go in and take over and suffer a casualty, but still look like did pretty well. And I liked the whole thing with Ezekiel, which I will talk more about later.
Yeah,
so that's
sure.
it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Grace, your thoughts? Your number 3?
I put Aaron as my number 3, not Eric, but Aaron. Because I can't say that I'm more into Eric's death, really, but I really felt for Aaron. I even got choked up kind of reflecting on how painful Eric's death was for him. It did affect me, even though, I think a lot of people think that or felt that Eric's death was pretty pointless and they didn't feel anything. And I just like how Aaron stepped up. Rick kind of gave Aaron an out and told him to, stay down, but Eric left Eric's body and he followed Rick into battle, and he's like, no, you lead the way. And he had this look of like determined resolve. Like there's that
galvanized.
one panel. Yeah, he's like steel, and the tears are still running down his face, but he has his gun, and the look on his face is just amazing. And I love that. So, and then the next time we see him, he's there right beside Rick fighting.
It was awesome. Yeah. Aaron basically saying "you lead the way" was just phenomenal. I thought that was it had a great emotional impact to it that I just didn't completely expect, and I mean I didn't expect that death at all, but it was very effective. I mean, this is a couple that, I mean, first of all, being I think the only gay couple in the entire series so far, but I would say almost one of the more believable couples. I mean, whether, going back to the point where Aaron and Eric had gotten the old bottle of scotch and they kept it from everybody and saved it because nobody else will appreciate it. I love those little moments. Or when Eric got stabbed and seeing Aaron becoming histrionic over it and overreacting. It was adorable. And to see, like you just said, Aaron's reaction, it was beautiful. I thought that was a fantastic thing. And I got to say, that was, in fact, my number 3. So I think we've covered it.
Because they've got to be the longest running couple.
Yeah, exactly.
I think.
Exactly.
I mean, they've been together so long.
Actually, were they together before the apocalypse, do you think? Or do you think that this was something that happened after?
I didn't get the feeling that they were, no. I don't think so.
One thing that makes this work even better, or really well, I guess I should say, is that Charlie Adlard is doing such a good job of showing the emotion on the faces.
Yeah.
And that really adds to the feeling. And not only in this moment, but I thought earlier when we see Gregory being all sniveling and weak and his emotion, I mean, he looked panicked and ashamed and angry all at the same time, and it made me just really feel like he's a real person that I could picture.
It's the art specifically. There's one page with Ezekiel, and it's right before Shiva shows up, and he's there's just one particular page, and you see like a drain pipe in the forest behind him and some zombies in the forest behind him, and he's kind of jumping around like almost a little sprite. And something about that art, I was like, this looks like the Little Prince, or just something more fantastical than what we've seen ever out of the art in this book. And it's just beautiful. This whole deal with the inker and Charlie Adlard penciling and the inker, I gotta say, I kind of hope they stick with this after this.
I wonder if it's making I'm sure in large part it's just the inker adding his touches and making it better, but maybe it's also sort of making Charlie Adlard feel a bit re-energized about it too.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, and it's got to free up some of his time too.
Yeah.
So what's his name? Stefano Guardiano? That's the inker?
Something like that.
Stefano Guardiano. Wasn't the name. I just slaughtered
Guardiano.
It. But Stefano Guardiano, nice Italian name. Appreciate that. Good job, dude. This is awesome. I'm loving it.
Thumbs up.
So, Jason, you're number 2.
My number 2, I loved Maggie taking charge.
Yeah.
She just kind of put her boot down on Gregory's head metaphorically and said, "Shut up, dude." And before he had a chance to try and sway the rest of his people, she actually said, "Shut the fuck up before I hit you again."
Yeah.
Which I liked. And that was a powerful scene. And even though I did, in a weird way, kind of feel for Gregory, not really because he's a dickhead, but a little bit. Like, I just felt like, God, this guy's poor, pathetic, miserable guy. Anyway, then the one question I kind of had about that, though, is she says, if there's one thing in this world I'm certain of, it's this: I believe in Rick Grimes. And I mean, that's a powerful thing to say, but I almost feel like, oh my God, there's been so much death around Rick, but maybe there would have been a lot more death if not for Rick, probably so. Anyway,
part of what I found so impactful with that sentence or that statement of "I believe in Rick Grimes" is this comes literally on the heels of her being really pissed with Rick over the death of Glenn. I mean, she called him a fucking coward, I think, when Glenn died, and to see her realizing what Rick did bring to the table and how much of a leader he really is in comparison to somebody like Gregory, who is nothing but a fucking coward. That was great. I love that panel. I thought that was just a fantastic spread.
It just takes a few weeks at the hilltop for her to realize how, great leader Rick was, maybe. I don't know.
Good point. Yeah.
Grace, what was your number 2?
Well, my number 2 was Gregory.
Nice.
So I put it mainly because just seeing his face just fills me with hatred, and I love feeling that. And that hatred just kind of grew as soon as he opened his mouth and he was just spewing all those lies. I just felt my rage brewing, and I felt, I think, probably a lot how Maggie was feeling at the moment. I mean, I wanted to punch the guy. He was pretending that he didn't know about Rick and Jesus's plan, and he was acting like he wasn't the one that went to the Saviors, like the turncoat he is or whatever. I don't know. I was just so mad. And then to top everything off, he went said that Negan was really quite reasonable.
Sounds familiar.
I mean, to the woman, oh my gosh. Yeah, maybe he was like us under Negan's charms. No, but
exactly.
I just felt so much emotion. I was just so angry with Gregory, and I just hated him so much that's why I had to put him as my number 2, just because he made me feel like that, and I thought it was great. And I loved the punch. That was awesome that he.
It's interesting how with Negan and with Gregory, how having your emotions come out for anything is just kind of awesome, and the fact that we can feel this way towards the people that we generally despise and hate, I think that says something to the writing and says something to kind of a new level that I feel the comic has been reaching with this current arc, where we love to hate these people, the coward and the balls out evil motherfucker. I mean, we dig this, and that's impressive. I like that we're not simply rooting for the hero to vanquish the bad guy, but in a way we're rooting for the bad guy to get worse because we love to hate that. That's cool. And Gregory is perfect for that because he is the polar opposite of Negan. A lot of people are going to, I think, will make the comparison of Rick and Negan as being opposites, much the way they did with the Governor of Black and White. But really, Gregory's the polar opposite of Rick and Negan.
About Gregory, I started thinking, okay, how would a guy like this have gotten to be the leader of Hilltop? And his whole thing seems to be don't make any waves.
Yeah.
Hilltop is a trading post, and he's really tried to smooth things out with people. And I guess to a degree that can really work because you're very cooperative, and he must have had some ability to gather people together and lead them. But as soon as there's a villain or a conflict, then that's when he becomes this sniveling, ineffectual. That kind of thinking only works until there's a huge threat.
And from what Brianna said a few issues back, that it seems like no one else kind of really wanted the job. She said, no one else, they all know he's an idiot, but no one else wants to get up and talk in front of people. So it might have been just laziness on other people's parts.
Yeah.
There was no one that was willing to step up and do the job the right way.
And my point is, though, that he's got to have some amount of competence, because the Hilltop actually is one of the most successful groups of people that we've seen since this comic started. And he probably had a lot to do with that,
Yeah.
But
I'm trying to remember. I remember Jesus saying something about people having a certain amount of confidence in him and believing in him, even though Jesus didn't necessarily believe in him or have confidence in him. So I think what you're getting around to is that he's kind of the consummate politician, where he's glad-handing everybody. He's making things like he's smoothing it over. He's making things comfortable for people and being able to rest on those laurels and say, look, I've worked out this deal with Negan so you guys can enjoy being the most successful community that we know of. Unfortunately, we have to give half of everything, and he's put a spin on that makes it sound reasonable to give half of all of your stuff to Negan, much the way Rick did with the Alexandria Free Zone. Just do this. It's how it's going to work, blah, blah, blah. But the difference is behind the scenes, Rick was saying, no, fuck that guy. We're going to bring him down. Gregory had no larger designs on that. He was fine with the status quo. Rick was simply never fine with that status quo. That's all.
I can see that.
I guess we're on to my number 2, which is going to be easy because my number 2 is Maggie Green. That was awesome. Basically what Jason said. I thought that was fantastic. And fantastic to kind of bring her back into the comic. We haven't seen her in a while. It was great to see her. And it was great as a reminder to people who are maybe succumbing to the charms of one Mr. Negan, to remind everyone he killed fucking Glenn. Don't forget that. He killed Glenn. And to have Gregory kind of dismissive of Maggie and propping up Negan in a way, man, talk about an insult. Can you imagine that the person who killed your spouse being defended by somebody? I'd punch him too. I'd probably do a lot worse than punch him. So I thought that was great to have Maggie return, to have a fierceness in her that she rarely ever had before. And let's face it, in the last few weeks with Herschel's passing on the show, and it's a good week for the Greens. It's a good week for the Greens. Well done. Jason, you're number 1. Let's hear it.
Well, it's probably going to be everybody's. I don't know for sure, but my number 1 is Shiva the tiger,
yeah.
which was I thought Ezekiel, where that whole sequence did work for me is it was just very sad. Ezekiel was devastated by losing his battle and losing some of his men, but I think he was even more devastated about losing his tiger.
Well, he specifically said that he wished he had died in the field, and only because then he wouldn't have had to lose Shiva.
Yeah, that's quite a statement.
That killed me.
And I thought it was very touching and believable too. If I had a tiger, I'd be really sad if it died, especially.
But Shiva came back. Ezekiel doesn't even know why she showed up. Was it the noise? Was it because she was looking for him? Whatever it was, she came back.
He felt like Shiva saved him.
She did.
And knowingly.
Sacrificed
her. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think we're all in the same situation where when the moment we first saw Ezekiel and Shiva in the comic, all of us, everybody said, a tiger?
Lame.
Fucking kidding me? A tiger? And we all, I think there was a certain amount of, okay, jump the shark. This is ridiculous. What the hell? They brought a tiger into the zombie apocalypse.
Well, especially not just the tiger, but also the whole
kingdom, your majesty, the dreadlocks, the star-spangled shirt, all of it was ridiculous.
Yeah, ridiculous.
And man, Shiva won me over in such a big way. Every episode we've talked about, every issue we've talked about since we started doing Under the Comic Covers, I have personally brought up Shiva shitting in the tub and the tender moments and all these things. I've come to love that cat and seeing her taken down by zombies of all things. We talked last week about there hasn't been a zombie death since Jess and Ron. Holy shit, it was Shiva. We got it. Yeah. We got a zombie death, and it was Shiva. Up yours, zombies. That pisses me off, man. I love that cat.
Oh, that's funny.
I still think it was a mistake to do the knights and stuff, though.
The knights, the knights.
Well, Shiva, she never won me over. I'm just going to put that out there.
It's all me. It's all me.
You're glad she's dead?
I'm glad she's dead, but I'm also glad that she went out with honor.
Yeah.
She deserved that, but I'm glad she's gone. I don't mourn her, but I felt terrible because of Ezekiel, and that was very touching, and how he felt about it. But I'm not mourning her, and I don't have a problem with animal deaths. I know some people were talking about, anytime an animal dies, they get really upset.
Yeah.
No, that's not me. I guess I'm a little more cold-hearted, but
no, I don't have.
I'm glad she's gone.
I've seen you eat a hamburger, so. The tiger, I was thinking about that too, and I thought it was a great death for the tiger, and it worked really well. But I kind of wished. I'm with you, Eric. Mr. Blog. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm with you, Mr. Blog. I really came around and liked the tiger, and I almost wish the tiger could have been around a little bit longer and do some more damage for a while first.
Yeah.
And then had this very death maybe a few more episodes down the road. But it was good.
I kind of felt like maybe let's just get the tiger out of the way. It was fun as a novelty. It was kind of cool to have it there, and let's just get it out. I hate to say this, but kind of like Judith in the comic.
Oh, God.
And maybe the show.
On the record, I want to go on the record. As far as the show, I think Judith is alive, and I've heard a lot of convincing arguments on that. I think Tyrese grabbed her.
Yeah, I think so too.
And Judith is still alive. And I'm disappointed by that. So yes, I'm a monster. It's true. I wish
you could be wrong, though. You could be wrong. You never know.
Yeah. So Grace, you're number 1.
Okay. My number 1 is the pacing and the tone, and I guess it sort of goes in the direct opposite of what Jason was feeling. But Ezekiel's narrative, I loved everything about it. I loved it. And I don't think they've done this in any of the regular issues before, so it was new and it was different. And I felt, they really kind of stepped back and they focused on the consequences of the war. I know a lot of the people wanted to see, some of the technicalities of it, but I felt they really focused on the emotion, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought, Ezekiel, he was being so honest about his failures that it was so touching. He was saying he was arrogant, and You could just feel the despair and the heartache that he was feeling over Shiva. Plus, who was not imagining? I don't know, but I know I was Dave Fennoy's voice. I just had that voice for.
That's
Ezekiel.
the guy who did
Lee
in the Walking Dead Telltale game, by the way. Yeah.
Well, he's got
So
the dreadlocks.
I thought it was
He's perfect
great.
for
He looks
Ezekiel.
just like
He looks
him.
just like him.
He does, and it sounds like him in my brain. So,
Deep voice.
so I loved it. So that was my number one.
This is getting a little redundant, but that was my number one as well. That narration, like you said, it's never been done in the series before, which I thought was unique. Jason was kind of complaining about, or not complaining, I apologize, but you were.
I would say that.
No,
yeah.
well, but you were thrown off a little bit by the fact that, like, who's talking? What is this? And I had
Right,
that the
yeah,
first time
I didn't
read.
like it.
I read through it as well, and I'm kind of like, wait a minute. They're talking about and Rick's group, and here's a shot of Rick right there. What I would say about the narration is what impacted me the most about it was I thought it was a very effective way to convey a lot of things going on at once without getting bogged down in the individual events. I know some people were maybe hoping to see more of the war, more of the actual battle, but look, when it comes to a comic battle, I mean, we're not going to be watching it in the same way we're watching a television show where, let's say, that season finale of season 3 felt so underwhelming versus the mid-season finale of 4, which showed a little more action. In a comic book, I don't know if you need that much action if you can convey the message better in a different format. And I think with that narration, it allowed me to get this sense of an actual war, an actual regret and sadness, and him being very reflective on how poorly he was doing. But at the same time, with this overlay of Rick's group, and I got to give massive kudos to Jesus. We finally get to see Jesus in action. That dude kicks some ass, man. And seeing him and Rick, I mean, and Jesus taking the point, and Rick following him into that warehouse and then the way they show the warehouse for, I think it's 4 panels, where we see the exterior of the warehouse and bracka bracka bam bam bracka bracka bam, and then silence in that 4th panel. That conveyed more, I think, than actually being in there and seeing it. And I felt we hit this point in the series where it was very emotive, and much the way I feel like even with this first half of season 4 of The Walking Dead, they're beginning to show us more than tell us. And I really like that in terms of a storytelling technique. And normally narration is not, it's kind of like the voiceover in a movie where it's kind of like, that's just lame. I really like this one because once we did realize who it was we were talking about, and seeing the desperation in Ezekiel, and then the death of Shiva, and Shiva's, I'm going to look at it as sacrificing herself for Ezekiel. That hit me like a ton of bricks. And then to show us that narration was in flashback as he's explaining what happened to Michonne as they have one of their moments, even cemented their relationship that more, that he's opening up to her in a way that is really nice to see. Almost that, again, talking about polar opposites, Ezekiel seems to be open in a way that Michonne never has been. And I find that dichotomy of those two and them coming together to be really cool. So that worked just gangbusters on me. And not so much like Jason, like you were saying, the first time through it was odd, and I felt tonally like, what the hell's going on? I don't understand this. But once I hit that point where I realized what was going on and then reread it, man, it hit me really hard, and it made it feel bigger, just bigger, everything. Shiva's death felt bigger. Eric's death felt bigger. And what Rick and Jesus are doing in general felt like something larger, and I'm glad that they did not have Negan ever show up in this one. Like, we are dealing with something much larger than this one man. We are fighting against an organization. We're fighting against not quite a nation state, but almost there.
Did you think the part with Rick and Jesus, that happened the way it was shown, and it was just sort of an artful thing to show that as we hear Ezekiel's thoughts about Rick? kind of the way they juxtapose things on the show, sometimes with
Yeah.
voiceover from someone who wasn't actually there.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think it was very artfully done, and that's sort of what I appreciate with this. I feel like this series, one of its hallmarks is almost that it's very direct, that it doesn't do artful things, that this is just pure survival. And at this point, I think we are now getting beyond just that survival and into something bigger, and it feels that way.
I read something, maybe it was in the letters page or an interview with Kirkman, and he was saying that the TV show does now affect how he writes the book. Maybe not as far as what he chooses to have happen, but how more, like he said with this whole All Out War arc, he's planning things out further ahead of time than he usually does.
Interesting.
And that's what he's learned from writing a TV show has helped. And I really do think that this narrative device that he used is pretty similar to some of the stuff that they do in the show sometimes. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was influenced by that.
Sure.
Yeah, especially the season. I felt the same thing. Yeah.
I mean, overall,
even though I didn't like it.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. But
no, that's cool.
Overall,
yeah.
I mean,
but you know what? Actually, let me say though that like I mentioned already, the second time I read through, I did like it better. And hearing you guys talk about it, I think it's making me like it a little bit more, especially if because here's one thing that I was a little disappointed. I'm like, okay, we're building up to these battles for a long time.
Yeah.
And then right when you get to the battle, the camera goes back and we don't get to see. But you're right. It is just focusing on a different aspect, which is like the emotional toll and things like that. But then because this is a 12-issue thing, I do want to see some up close. So it's good when they change it up and show things in different ways. But maybe if there's more battles to come and we get to see some of those up close, then that'll make me come back and like this one a little bit more.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think we'll definitely get that. I can't imagine that we wouldn't.
Yeah.
And
well, one panel in particular. I'm looking at it right now, and it's as the narration has kind of begun. Things. He's a couple pages into it. We've already seen Jesus kick some ass, and right as they break into that warehouse where we see the narration says, "But I've never led men into battle." This is where Ezekiel is beginning to talk about his lack of confidence. That panel shows Rick leading Aaron and then some other red shirts behind him into that warehouse. So you get this wonderful, Ezekiel has never led men in the battle, but look at who has. And right after we followed it up with, I believe in Rick Grimes, you then see Rick Grimes leading men successfully into battle. I mean, this... It just emotionally, this hit me. And I've actually been a little lukewarm on Rick lately. Just, kind of wishy-washy back and forth and all these different things. And him having self-doubt, seeing a more confident Rick again it's great.
It's interesting too, to me though. I was thinking, okay, we've got Maggie saying she believes in Rick Grimes, and then Ezekiel saying Rick always seems to know what to do. But just in like a recent issue, he was talking to Andrea about how everyone thinks I know what to do, but I don't.
Yeah.
Exactly. And but isn't that kind of what we expect of our leaders? We want them to be human. We want them to be understanding of the real risk involved and the things involved in a war. And I love like that conversation you're talking about with Andrea. That's the one where, this is war. People are going to die, and they're dying because of me, and that sucks. But he still does it. And as opposed to, again, we got another
Gregory,
exactly, where nobody's going to die under me. I'm Gregory, No, and it's great that we're getting these profiles of courage and lack thereof. We're getting to see different forms of leadership in the zombie apocalypse in these different communities. So you've got your Ricks, you've got your Gregorys, you've got your Negans, and you've got your Ezekiels, and then of course you have Jesus, who's just a badass. We all love Jesus, right?
Praise Jesus.
Praise Jesus, man. I'm so going to hell. All right, let's move on to listeners' moans, groans, and grunts. Jason, do you want to read the first one?
Sure. This is from Al Basharou, who says, "Hey guys, in your latest show, you mentioned that there hasn't been a zombie death since Jesse and Ron, and that got me thinking Robert Kirkman isn't the sort of writer to overlook that. I believe he's probably saving a zombie death for Negan. What do you think?" I think it was the tiger.
I think it was the tiger too. Yeah, I think that got answered. And there were a couple of red shirts that got it too.
A red shirt savior.
Yeah.
But I do think, I know Kirkman, he said many times that he would love to have a complete arc of this comic go by without seeing a zombie and having nobody notice.
Oh, crap. I'm sorry, Mr. Kirkman. I noticed.
Yeah, I can't imagine that would happen.
You don't think that would happen?
That no one would notice?
Yeah. That's what he's just saying, I want you to be so wrapped up in the characters and what situations they're in that you wouldn't notice.
I can see maybe people not minding, but
Right.
not noticing, no. I can't see that.
Got it.
Actually, I don't think I did notice for quite a while, and then it did dawn on me at one point. I'm like, wait a minute, something's missing.
This is a zombie book.
This is a zombie book, exactly. That was awesome. Thanks, Al. Grace, you want to read the next one?
Okay, the next one is from Sam. Do you guys think the issue would have been more effective if we actually experienced the full battle instead of Ezekiel's summary? I think it could have been very exciting to watch everything fall apart and have the odds suddenly turn against the survivors. I didn't hate what they did with it, but thought it could be better. Do you think the narration is a technique that should be utilized again?
Yes.
We basically said our thoughts on that.
Yeah, we did. We covered it, I would say.
But I do think it should be used sparingly. I do want to throw that out there.
Yeah. Me too. I mean, even if they use it really effectively, it would be less effective if they just kept doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah, no. They definitely should not overuse that. And how they used it, perfect. I'm very happy with that. Maybe there'll be another narration at the end of the war. Who knows? But yeah, I don't think it's something that should recur. Again, much like voiceovers and movies and TVs, use sparingly. Mm-hmm. Again, Sam wrote in again. Where do you guys think the story will head after All Out War? Kirkman said that he and Adlard are more excited for what comes after. Do you think this Negan arc will resolve? Do you think we'll have a few volumes of rebuilding civilization? Or do you think the communities will start to turn on each other? What do you guys think?
I really hope that it's something that we can't even conceive, like they just head off in some really weird direction. Mm-hmm. But what I keep thinking about is how with these factions, it reminds me of in history when there was no centralized government and there were just warring fiefdoms all over the countryside with landlords in their castles and things like that.
Yeah.
And then I'm actually in Moscow right now, and a friend of mine here was telling me about Russian history and how the Russian provinces were all separate and, they fought each other all the time. But then when the Mongol hordes came in, that's what galvanized them to come together. And that was actually why Russia was formed, in order to defend against another bigger, badder enemy. So it makes me wonder if these groups were all fighting each other, and then this bigger horde of apocalyptic Vikings came in or something like that.
So you're saying Negan is an apocalyptic Viking? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I guess so. They're doing that right now, aren't they? Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, I guess these factions, they've been pretty friendly, so it doesn't totally equate. But anyway, I don't know what's going to happen.
I mean, I'm wondering if there's even going to be enough people left to have separate communities, or if the body count's going to be so high that people are going to have to pick one community, basically. I don't know.
Well, as it stands now, Jesus is the only person from the hilltop apparently fighting this war. The kingdom, my understanding was it the kingdom or the hilltop that has the most people? It seems almost like it's the kingdom that has more people.
I felt so, yeah.
So, I mean, maybe there will be a merging of these groups into a city, if you will. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. And of course, we don't know the outcome of this war. We have no idea what's going to happen. I know some people are speculating the notion of Negan joining in with Rick. I just can't see that happening.
No, I can't see that.
No, I can't see that. But I don't know, man. That's a good question. What's going to happen after this? Will they turn on each other? If Gregory's still in charge of the hilltop, yeah, I can see them turning on the hilltop. But I think Jesus would smooth that over because,
I'm
Jesus
hoping
saves,
Gregory's
man.
dead by then.
Hopefully, yeah, he probably will be, and Maggie may be the one to do it. So
Yeah, maybe Maggie will become a leader. It looked very feasible in
Yes.
this issue.
exactly, it did.
That's what I think.
And of course, she's got all those raging pregnant woman hormones going on. So I think that had something, like, "Urgh." I loved it. Maggie was awesome. I think we've all forgotten. She is pregnant with Glenn's baby. Their little Glenn Jr. is still, Glenn Jr. is going to lead.
Yeah, she said, I don't, is that the kind of, or that's not the kind of world I want to raise my children in, or something like that.
Right.
So I
She
guess
did
she's
say-
planning on having another child with somebody.
Well, I think she
You
was talking
noticed that
about-
too. I
No,
actually
it was
noticed
that.
Oh, right.
Sophia.
That's
She
right.
counts as her child.
yeah. Oh, Sophia's still there. That's right.
Sophia.
She's in the barn.
All right, Rick, get to work. Well, that's cool. That's all our letters. Thank you guys so much for writing in. Grace and I really appreciate getting any feedback that you guys want to give. Please do. We're very receptive to it, and we love getting the feedback. So thank you very much, Sam. And
Thank
Sam.
you.
oh, dears. No, Sam and Al. Sam, and Al. Thank you guys very much. That's awesome. Now, Grace, you and I one thing what we talked about when we started Under the Comic Covers was being able to maybe give some other comic recommendations to those who are interested, especially to our Walking Dead listening fans. And I think we both decided on one comic in particular, right?
On Revival. And now, did I
Revival.
recommend that to you in the first place? Or
You did.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, you turned me on to Revival, and it's a fantastic book. I really enjoy this series, and came in a little bit late. There are 2 trade paperbacks available, but I caught up pretty quickly. And it's a great series.
Yes,
man. I think,
it's not so far along that it would be hard to catch up on, and I really recommend it. But it's another zombie type series, but kind of with a twist. It's different. It has its own feel to it. And do you want to describe it a little bit?
Sure. I mean, okay. Well, first of all, I just want to say it's out of Image Comics, along with The Walking Dead, written by Tim Seeley. I believe is the artist Mike Norton, or
Yes.
are they both? Okay, so the artist is Mike Norton and author is Tim Seeley. God, where do I even begin on this book? Basically, one day in a small town in Wisconsin, dead people come to life. And there is no explanation. There are many people around the world who believe that this is a religious experience, so they're converging on this small town. They're trying to control the media.
So it only happens in the town, huh? But people
Only in this one
otherwise
town.
know
One
about
town.
it.
In the story,
it's just people
the story
who-
revolves around Dana, who is a police officer in the small town, and it's kind of her.
Single mom. Her dad's her dad's her boss, the sheriff, and then there's her sister.
What's the tone like?
Rural noir.
Cool.
That's how it's described as rural noir. So small town.
It's hard to
kind of
say.
I had a hard time with that. There's a lot of R's in that.
Rural noir.
Especially after 3 glasses of wine. Rural noir. But it's a really intense, and there's a lot of aspects to this that we have not mentioned at all because there are
Too spoilery.
surprises. Too spoilery. And
Yeah.
from the first issue, you get into weird sort of, there's one panel in the first issue that'll leave you going, what the hell was that?
Yeah, so
And
we
you
got
get the answer to what
mysteries.
the hell was that.
Yeah,
Sounds cool.
yep.
It's a good one.
You gotta pick it
and
up.
It's well written.
Yeah,
you got to
I think
pick
I
it
will.
up. It's
Yeah, I'm looking
it's
at
really-
art online right now, and it looks great.
and I just want to.
very well written.
I want to put this in that one of my favorite things about Revival is that the characters are so fleshed out. I don't know exactly what it is about it, but even the characters that you just meet a couple times, they just feel like such real people.
Yeah.
It's like flesh and blood people. That's one of my favorite things about it. And you already fall in love with the characters just in the first couple issues.
Well, the art is fantastic. I mean, it's well drawn, and you're right. Even some of the minor characters, you immediately kind of understand them. It's very well done, and it's a cool story. There's plenty of mystery, and each issue is delivering some kind of cool, like what the fuck moments, and I like that. This is a good one. I'd highly recommend Revival out of Image Comics by Tim Seeley and Mike Norton. Pick this up, people. It's a good one.
I'm gonna. Cool.
Cool. So you guys ready to close it out?
Yeah.
No.
No. Cool.
All right, that's our show, episode 126. Thank you for listening, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that. I know I did.
Cool. If you'd like to leave us a voice message, you can use the send voicemail button on the right side of the page at walkingdeadcast.com.
Or you can call us at 650-485-DEAD. That's 650-485-3323.
You can write to us at brains@walkingdeadcast.com.
You can check out our website at walkingdeadcast.com, and don't forget to click through our Amazon link, or just go to walkingdeadcast.com/Amazon whenever you shop at Amazon.com.
We're also on Twitter at Jason and Karen, on Tumblr at walkingdeadcast.tumblr.com, and we especially have a lot going on at Facebook at facebook.com/deadcast. All right, that's our show.
Thanks for listening.
Don't get bit, Marcy Brinker. I've come to love that cat.
You're glad she's dead?
I'm glad she's dead.
Monster.
Oh my gosh.
What does it mean to live for the common good? Introducing the Garrison Institute presents The Common Good, the brand new podcast from the Garrison Institute, a leading not-for-profit organization exploring the intersection of contemplation and engaged action in the world. Hosted by me, Jonathan F.P. Rose, a co-founder of the Garrison Institute, the series dives into the threads that bind us all. First, you'll discover the interdependent nature of life with environmental entrepreneur Paul Hawken and trailblazing plant intelligence researcher Monica Gagliano. Next, we unlock the mysteries of the mind with renowned psychiatrist Dan Siegel and Pulitzer Prize-winning author